from the broadcast center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus. This is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good afternoon, I'm Riley Lung and you're listening to 1680 The Crow. It's currently 2:30 p.m. and starting off, India has halted all visa services for Canadian citizens and told Canada to reduce diplomatic staffing as rifts widen between the two countries. This comes after Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said that India may have been involved in the killing of a Canadian citizen. The diplomatic ties between Ottawa and New Delhi have dropped to the lowest point in years. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says that any lasting solution to the crisis in Haiti will have to come within the country and from the outside. This comes after announcing an additional $80 million in humanitarian and security aid. Trudeau's told reporters that Haitian people should be at the center of the path forward.
We know it takes development aid, it takes humanitarian aid, it takes security and perhaps military aid to stabilize the ongoing cataclysmic situation going on in Haiti right now.
BC United leader Kevin Falcon spoke to his climate policy today. Our reporter Mac Mashman has more.
Kevin Falcon spoke to reporters today at a press conference highlighting BC United's position on climate change. Falcon said that BC represents only 0.3% of global emissions and said that exporting BC LNG to Asia would have a positive effect on the climate.
I would argue that if we can use our LNG to get China and Japan, to a lesser extent, and even India, off coal-fired dirty power that has really bad emissions, and reduce those emissions by 50%, that's the equivalent of parking all the vehicles in Canada.
This coming just over a week after a BC United MLA left the party, saying his new party, the BC Conservatives, have common sense. Max Mashman, 1680 The Crow.
After UBC's experiment, which gave elderly citizens robots to keep them company, our reporter Zach Clark delved a little into how they work.
Robotic pets are hardly a new idea, dating back to the 1940s. But Dr. Lillian Hung, Canada's research chair in senior care and a UBC assistant professor, explains these robots are equipped with sophisticated AI technology.
So if I take the robot to go out with me in a room with a group of different people, the robot always follow me because the robot recognizes my face and my voice, and the robot knows that I am the owner. Just kind of like, when you have a cat, you adopt a cat or a dog, and you spend a lot of time with that particular animal. The animal knows that you are the owner.
On top of facial recognition, it has 360-degree cameras so it can move around its environment and has voice-activated sensors. They even exhibit emotions such as happiness and fear. Dr. Hung hopes in the future these robots can solve elderly loneliness. Zach Clark, 1680 The Crow.
2 people have been injured in a crash of a small plane on Vancouver Island. In a statement by Comox Valley RCMP says that 2 were airlifted to hospital with no life-threatening injuries. RCMP say the private plane went down Tuesday near Wolf Lake, just west of Highway 19. The Transportation Safety Board said yesterday that it was sending a team to the site, but no other details have been released. Richmond Bank is trying to keep up with the increasing demand of new clients coming to the shelves. Sebastian Arancibia has more on the story.
The organization says it has seen the demand increase by 53% this year. Ajira Hussain, executive director of Richmond Food Bank, says the cost of living is the reason behind these numbers.
When you are spending more than 1/3 of your income on rent, when you are spending double of what you used to pay for groceries, that there's hardly anything left over for other expenses.
Hussain says she's hopeful about the capacity of the food bank and their partners to give food in the future to a growing number of people. Sebastián Arancibia, 1680 The Crow.
On to the weather. Today is looking to be a warm and sunny day with no rain at all. The current temperature is 17 degrees and we're looking at a high of 21 degrees and a low of 11. Friday will look the same, just a little bit warmer with a high of 23 degrees. Saturday, we should expect to see rain all throughout the day and the following week. I'm Riley Lung, and you're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
God, baby, let's go. Oh my! No, I'm kidding.
Yeah! Get up! Get up, baby! Get up! Get up!
So this is kind of just the area we chucked all his baseball gear in because it was taking over this whole room here when he was playing. But like, yeah, this was his Little League hoodie from when he played for North Van Central. Different sort of awards, PBL Player of the Year. That's what he wore at the draft combine to get him all access into the back rooms and things like that, and to just get interviewed. And you look at it and you feel pretty proud that you're part of it.
Adam was very high energy as a kid. He was always running around, getting into stuff, but he was, we could tell, like really good at anything he ever did.
He would wait for me after school for me to come home from work, and so he'd know approximately what time I'd be coming home, and he'd wait for me basically outside the front door and play around on the lawn with a soccer ball or a basketball or stick handle his hockey puck.
Just growing up and like playing catch with my dad in the front yard, or like him throwing me batting practice in the cage. There's so many times, or throwing tennis balls at the park or something like that. So many times where we've done that at the time I kind of took for granted that, are still fun to do. And I always try and play catch with them and stuff when I get the chance.
It's hard as a parent because you think, oh, my kid's so good at this. But then you also think, well, it's just because we're his parents. We think he's so wonderful.
Okay, let's go. Let's go. Get out of here. Guys, get out. Come on, get out now.
He played with the North Shore Twins. He would have been 13 when he started that. And so that's called the PBL. That's the Premier Baseball League, and it's where all the best players go and where the best coaches are.
I know, like his parents were always there to support him, and I know he played a whole bunch of different sports. He wasn't just a baseball player. I think he played some pretty high-level hockey, certainly early on when he was younger. Being able to have a parent that's in your corner, right? Like as an athlete, you're always going to go through those ups and downs, and it's important to have somebody there to have those conversations with and kind of talk you through the tough times and be able to, point you in the right direction. Maybe you've had a bad game, or you're, I don't know, having those thoughts about maybe not playing anymore.
I remember he had a bad day at the plate. His team was down, just maybe one run or something like that. Late in the game, he had runners on base, might have been loaded bases, and he popped up to the catcher, didn't even get it out of the outfield. He was so pissed off. And, on the car ride home, you could tell he was just really madder than I've ever seen him. And then he came home, and I heard him throw his bag down on the ground in this room here. And then I remember him mumbling something, and I was upstairs, and then I heard this big noise, bang. And I thought, okay, what did he do? And so I came downstairs, and he had taken his baseball bat and he had broken it over his leg. He, fired it across the backyard into the woods kind of thing. So, for me, it was like, yeah, maybe I should talk to him. Maybe I should just let him steam down for a little while. And I went and I got the barrel of the bat out of the trees, and I kept it. And I actually shoved it into the dirt behind a bush back here. And I didn't tell him, but I said, okay, I'm going to stick this in there, and I won't tell him that story that I kept the barrel of the bat.
We would have to leave work early. It was a constant juggle. There was, we have another son too, so had to make sure he was fine. And so it was always one of us leaving work early or arranging a carpool or something. There was a lot of driving and a lot of, drive-through dinners, and it was really busy. I think it's just a similar story for most families that have their kids in sports.
And just the multi-sports too, so that was in hockey, that was in baseball, that was in soccer, so it never really ended. There wasn't a season where he could take a break or we could take a break.
Bob and Amy, they're both super, super nice. All the time when we're over at their house, they're just so genuine and caring and accepting of having all of us over there all the time. I think they've definitely done a lot to help him get to where he is, just taking him everywhere. Like growing up, he was playing a lot of sports, like they're going to school, hockey, baseball, driving around all over the Lower Mainland, getting into sports. I mean, I know I couldn't have played any of the stuff I did without my parents.
His high school team, the North Shore Twins, was over in Deep Cove by my sister's place, and I have really fond memories now of, just going to my sister's, and we would ride our bikes over, and sometimes my parents would come, we'd have a picnic, and it was really, really special to be able to watch those games. My most excited memory of watching him play was it wasn't a playoff, but he was on the North Shore Twins, and I think it was a quarterfinal, and they were playing against the North Delta Blue Jays.
Like, we were down to the last couple innings of our season, and we were down a couple runs, and you knew if we could get some guys on and you could get him up to the plate, like, he was going to succeed in that moment, because that's who he was.
He went up to bat, and they were down, and
right, and he loved those pressure situations. He loved those situations where the game was on the line.
yeah, he started complaining of pain in his elbow sort of towards the end of the summer in Cape Cod.
So that would be August of 2021.
He'd made the decision to go to Oregon, and we thought, you just got to rest your elbow.
In the third start that he got, after maybe 3 innings or something like that, he was on the mound. We were watching from home, and he just kind of grimaced and winced, and we thought, oh no, like, what happened there? And then the pitching coach came out, and then he was holding his elbow, and we thought, okay, that's not good. And they took him out of the game, and then that's when he had to shut it down. So that was March of 2022.
He saw this great surgeon down in San Francisco, and he was able to see him right away. That's one of the many perks of going to a Division I school in the US, is that you have great access to medical attention. I flew down and met him in San Francisco, and he had the surgery, and it was successful, and I flew back to Eugene with him, and he recovered there, and everything went according to plan, and he was disappointed to miss his whole season, but he was also relieved in that he knew that the feeling in his elbow wasn't normal, wasn't good, and he was really happy to get it fixed, knowing that he will come back even possibly better than he was before. We were really thrilled that he was able to get the opportunity to go to Oregon, but again, it was, a bit of a pull at the heartstrings that your son's actually leaving and going hundreds of miles away, and you can't just, he can't just come home for a Sunday dinner anymore. He's matured a lot, I think, through this whole process that he's been through, and so I felt like he was, ready to move away and be on his own, or with his roommates or whatever. When he was in Oregon, we made it down to only one of his games, and then he only played in 3 games when he was with Oregon, and then had to come out due to his injury. But that was, a 8-hour drive to get there, and you got to book a hotel. It was quite something to get there. We're super keen to get down to Atlanta or wherever he's going to end up and watch him play again.
Knowing that how much they love watching me play, and that they get to do that, and it's becoming, a little bit more rare that they're able to do that since I'm playing so far away. So it's definitely special to look up and see them in the stands, hopefully with a smile on their face, enjoying watching me play.
I took a picture of the TV set when he was pitching on TV, because they televised the World U18 championships from South Korea. When I see him there, which is very small in the picture, I just know it's him because of his style of pitching, so I can tell that's a real picture and it's not just somebody drew it. You know, it makes me feel proud of what he's done because I really didn't do anything. Like I maybe taught him how to throw, how to hit, you know, at the beginning, gave him some tools that he could sort of work with, but and maybe some advice later on about the education piece. And you know, my contribution is minor to the whole process, and I just want to support him. And he's done everything that he's had to do to get to where he is by hard work and by educating himself and to find that way to be, you know, to have that competitive edge.
You know, I think for Adam, he's had a bit of a rough year over this last year with, you know, being injured and going through the surgery and the things that he has, and now moving on to professional baseball. I think he's going to, you know, need a lot of family support, not only as he works his way back to the field, but also as he takes the first few steps into professional baseball.
I'm kind of amazed all of the things that he's managed to do, all the accomplishments. They just keep stacking up on each other, and he just keeps getting better and better. So it's really, I'm really amazed, and I'm super proud of him.
And I'm going to keep it in there until he makes the major leagues, until he actually plays a game in the show. The memories are all here for sure, and so I'm sure there'll be a day when it's all over, but you know, my wife wants us to clean up this area, but this is as tidy as it gets, and that's the state that it's in right now.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, you know, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Hello and welcome to your 3 o'clock newscast. I'm Joseph Augusti, and thanks for tuning in. At the United Nations today, Justin Trudeau said during a news conference he wants India to take the matter seriously and work with Canada to ensure accountability and justice. Trudeau stressed that Canada would not waver on the importance of the rule of law, protecting Canadians, and standing up for its values.
People come to Canada from every corner of the world, sometimes fleeing regimes that share very different values in various parts of the world than Canada. And when they come to Canada, when they become Canadian citizens, they deserve to be fully protected.
India has halted all visa services for Canadians as the rift between the two countries continues to develop. Tensions has continued to rise since Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said there were credible allegations of Indian involvement in the assassination of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Indian External Affairs Ministry spokesman Arindam Bagchi has accused Canada of harboring terrorists.
I think we should look at it on a larger issue of there are elements linked to organized crime, linked to terrorists, secessionists, or extremists who are operating freely. They're being politically condoned. They seem to have a free run. And we would expect that the Canadian government takes action against that. As regards the Indian origin or Indian community or Indian diaspora.
Forest Minister Bruce Ralston says the car crash deaths of 4 men heading home after fight a wildfire in the Vanderhoof area marks more tragic news in a very tough wildfire season.
It's emotionally wrenching and heartbreaking to hear of people who are completed their work on their way home and meet with their deaths on the road. It's really tragic.
The deaths bring the number to 6 wildfire personnel who have died this season in the province. British Columbia's transportation minister says the company whose truck slammed into a North Vancouver overpass, stopping traffic for hours, has had the license for its whole fleet suspended. Minister Rob Fleming says authorities suspended the licenses of all 21 trucks in the fleet of a company he identified as Whistler Courier Services. He says the punishment seems harsh, but it's meant to send a message to truckers to prevent similar crashes from happening.
I think in this instance, there can be no higher penalty than to strip away the ability to deliver goods and services for the entire fleet of Whistler Courier Services, which we have done. And that investigation is underway now. It will involve the RCMP as well. So both agencies, the CVSE and RCMP, will be conducting a thorough investigation, and none of those trucks will be back on the road until that investigation is complete.
After UBC's experiment, which gave elderly citizens robots to keep them company, our reporter Zach Clark delved a little into how they work.
Robotic pets are hardly a new idea, dating back to the 1940s. But Dr. Lillian Hung, Canada's research chair in senior care and a UBC assistant professor, explains these robots are equipped with sophisticated AI technology.
So if I take the robot to go out with me in a room with a group of different people, the robot always follow me because the robot recognizes my face and my voice, and the robot knows that I am the owner. Just kind of like, when you have a pet, you adopt a cat or a dog, and you spend a lot of time with that particular animal. The animal knows that you are the owner.
On top of facial recognition, it has 360-degree cameras so it can move around its environment and has voice-activated sensors. They even exhibit emotions such as happiness and fear. Dr. Hung hopes in the future these robots can solve elderly loneliness. Zach Clark, 1680 The Crow.
Now Zach joins us live. Hi, Zach.
Hi, thanks for having me.
No problem. So what is the next step for these robots?
Well, the next step is testing with a much larger sample size, and even possibly including different robots. UBC Robotics has other robots that they think could apply to senior citizens, such as a robot that can communicate verbally with ChatGPT and a robot that will lead seniors in deep breathing exercises.
So what was the initial reception of the robots like in care homes?
Well, a lot of seniors didn't understand them at first, but many others grew close to them like pets. They respond to voices, and a lot of seniors really enjoyed having company to talk to and reminisce about life with. Interestingly enough, Dr. Hung noted that different cultural backgrounds seem to have differing levels of reception, with the robots being almost unanimously loved in a Japanese senior care home.
Thanks for your time, Zach.
Of course, have a great day.
BC United leader Kevin Falcon spoke to his climate policy today. Our reporter, Max Mashman, has more.
Kevin Falcon spoke to reporters today at a press conference highlighting BC United's position on climate change. Falcon said that BC represents only 0.3% of global emissions and said that exporting BC LNG to Asia would have a positive effect on the climate.
I would argue that if we can use our LNG to get China and Japan, to a lesser extent, and even India off coal-fired dirty power that has really bad emissions, and reduce those emissions by 50%, that's the equivalent of parking all the vehicles in Canada.
This coming just over a week after a BC United MLA left the party, saying his new party, the BC Conservatives, have common sense. Max Mashman, 1680 The Crow.
Richmond Bank is trying to keep up with the increased demand of new clients coming to their shelves. Sebastian Arancibia has more on this story.
The organization says it has seen the demand increase by 53% this year. Ajira Hussain, executive director of Richmond Food Bank, says the cost of living is the reason behind these numbers.
When you are spending more than 1/3 of your income on rent, when you are spending double of what you used to pay for groceries, then there's hardly anything left over for other expenses.
Hussain says she's hopeful about the capacity of the food bank and their partners to give food in the future to a growing number of people. Sebastián Arancibia, 1680 The Crow.
A recent drop in the number of people using BC's prescribed safe supply program has authorities asking questions. Reporter Max Mashman has more.
The provincial government is investigating the reason behind an 11% dip in people accessing prescribed safe supply. With more than 5,000 people prescribed opioid, stimulant, and benzodiazepine alternatives in March of this year alone, questions remain about why those numbers went down to around 4,500 in July. There are concerns from some advocates that drug users who do not have a prescription will turn to BC's deeply contaminated drug market, which has claimed the lives of over 1,400 people so far this year. The province has noted that the largest drop in prescriptions is for opioid alternatives, but the BC Coroner Service has said that there is no relation between prescribed safe supply and overdose deaths. Max Mashman, 1680, The Crow.
Ontario Premier Doug Ford said he is reversing his plan to open the protected Greenbelt lands for housing development and won't make any changes to the Greenbelt in the future. Ford's government was heavily criticized for what reports from the Integrity Commissioner said that the Greenbelt process was rushed and favored certain developers. Ford said his caucus members shared with him what they had been hearing about the Greenbelt from people in their communities, and he is listening.
It was a mistake to open the Greenbelt. It was a mistake to establish a process that moved too fast. This process, it left too much room for some people to benefit over others. It caused people to question our motives.
A report commissioned by the Alberta government estimates the province would be entitled to more than half the assets of the Canadian pension plan if it were to exit the National Retirement Savings Program and go independent. Opposition NDP leader Rachel Notley says the report is misleading.
Today, Danielle Smith took the first step in her long-term plan to steal your pension. She did it by releasing a report riddled with fake numbers. And she now plans to spend your money campaigning to convince you it's a good idea.
Now to sports. Training camp for the Vancouver Canucks is underway, and President of Hockey Operations Jim Rutherford is excited to start the season.
I like where we're at with our hockey operations group. Patrick touched on it. We have a group that is together now and aligned in a sense of how we want to do things, how we want to play. I feel really good about our development department. I feel really good about our group in Abbotsford.
On-ice work for the Canucks training camp begins today in Victoria, with preseason just around the corner. The Canucks kick off preseason September 27th against the Oilers. Vancouver Canucks star centerman Elias Pettersson says that heading into the final year of his contract is not a distraction. Pettersson is in the last year of a 3-year bridge deal that pays him $7.35 million per season. After this year, Pettersson will become a restricted free agent. Pettersson noted that the media is more concerned about his contract than he is.
It's not a distraction. You guys make it a distraction. Got one more year left. I'm happy now, but I just want to focus on the season, my teammates.
As Canucks training camp got underway, there was one key player missing. Players hit the ice this morning with the notable absence of Ilya Mikheyev. According to Czech's Rick Dollywall, Mikheyev has been excused from camp due to personal matter. Mikheyev's agent says Mikheyev should be back in a matter of days. The Edmonton Oilers have made changes to their hockey operations department. Michael Parcati has been named Senior Director of Data and Analytics. The Oilers were one of the few teams in the NHL not to have a full-time analytics department. The Oilers training camp commenced today ahead of a crucial season for the team as they try and maximize Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl's prime. New signing Connor Brown spoke about reuniting with junior hockey teammate Connor McDavid.
He creates a lot of room with his speed, and he draws a lot of guys to him. So it's a lot of it about finding soft ice and creating speed and timing. And so a lot of things go into it. And he's a fun guy to play with, even throughout these scrimmages and stuff. It's just fun to be out there with him.
It's now official. Alek Manoah's season is done. The former ace of the Blue Jays was shut down for the year after having multiple injections in his throwing arm. The big right-hander had an extremely disappointing season, marked by 2 separate demotions to the minors. After his second demotion, Manoah did not report to AAA Buffalo, and reports surfaced he was unhappy with being demoted yet again. Manoah, who was the opening day starter, struggled all season and finished the year with a 3-9 record and a .587 earned run average. CPL expansion club Vancouver FC was victorious last night against Winnipeg-based Valor FC. 16-year-old Canadian TJ Tahid scored the winner, what turned out to be a 1-0 win. The victory takes Vancouver out of last place while it eliminates Valor from playoff contention. Now the weather. It's going to be a warm and sunny afternoon for Burnaby residents, with temperatures reading 20 degrees in the late afternoon. It'll be a nice and clear evening with an average temperature of 13 degrees. And that was your 3 o'clock newscast. I'm Joseph Augusti for 1680 The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Siggy-Kane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
With cities growing and ridership rising after the pandemic, there's a push to expand transit. While the SkyTrain has had 2 new lines since the new millennium, the West Coast Express, the region's commuter train, has stayed relatively stagnant. The West Coast Express currently only operates on weekdays and runs 5 trains in the morning from Mission to Waterfront. 5 trains go back to Mission in the afternoon. I'm Richard Davis, and you're listening to For the Record on 1680 The Crow. My guest today is Harvey Sue, the founder of the West Coast Express Expansion Association. So Harvey, what's the biggest hurdle for the expansion of the West Coast Express?
I think the biggest hurdle is the track time, because the track is owned by the CP Rail, and the CP Rail has the freight priority. And also, I think the other big hurdle is the money, right? The fund. We don't have the fund for the expansion. And the Mayor's Council, on regional transportation, just reviewed its 10 years Assess for Everyone plan a couple of days ago, and it does not include West Coast Express expansion. The TransLink CEO pointed out in the news conference that Metro Vancouver transit ridership is bouncing back after the pandemic, and more than 86 million riders in summer 2022. And summer 2023, the number goes to 100 million, up 16%. And the West Coast Express has seen the biggest increase from 240 riders in summer 2022 to 339,000 this year, up 41%. And yet, West Coast Express is left out of this 21 billion of the next 10 years plan. The only thing mentioned about the West Coast Express in this plan is that they're going to operate, and still operating the 5 West Coast Express trains with capacity scale to meet demand, and will conduct studies to support future capacity expansion. And moreover, the West Coast Express expansion is not in TransLink's 2050 regional transportation investment plan either, in which TransLink is planning to adding around 310 kilometer rapid transit. But the only thing Tri-City and the Eastern region might get is the 2 kilometer extension of the Millennium Line from Coquitlam to Port Coquitlam. So we won't see any West Coast Express service expansion until after 2050.
So why do you think there's a lack of political, or is there even a lack of political will to expand the West Coast Express? And if so, why do you think that is?
This is I really don't know the reason behind it, because to me it's like a no-brainer. Because in my opinion, the West Coast Express expansion could be the driving engine for the Metro Vancouver economies and housing affordability. And as I mentioned, the 2050 the investment plan, they try to build in that 310 kilometers transit. I think it's measured the Mayor's Council, I think they're catering to the need of Vancouver, not like a kind of an aggression on the Tri-City and also the Eastern region. It's like Canucks has one of the best team players in the league, like Patterson, but somehow the coach only let him play 5 minutes in the first period and 5 minutes in the third period, and season after season, and they will continue to do that for the next 10 years. So you won't make it to the playoff and don't even think about winning the Stanley Cup. And by the way, I came to Canada in 1999. I have never seen a Canadian team winning a Stanley Cup, and I guess I won't see it happen in the next decade either.
Yeah, I'm originally from Toronto, so I know the pain of not winning a cup. So what would the ideal service look like for you and kind of other residents along the West Coast Express?
Yeah, I will hope to see that West Coast Express be a bi-directional all-day service, just like the rail transit, just like a SkyTrain service. If you just mentioned that you came from Toronto, and if you take a look at the GO Transit system in Toronto, I mean, your heart will sadden even more because they are running like bi-directionally with bigger capacity and more frequency. Well, West Coast Express has increased since July 1st, 2023. GO Transit is lowering its fares to encourage more people to use public transit. So, and I also know that Ontario government is planning to eliminate double fares on trips between GO and TTC by early 2024, and they are planning, I believe the number is around like a 13.5 billion GO expansion project. Anyway, in my opinion, the better is keep getting better, and the worse is keep getting worse.
So many cities kind of are expanding, as you you suggested, due to kind of home prices going up in the region. People are flocking to it. So what does the West Coast Express of the future look like for those cities?
Yeah, so I think I have we have a couple of requests. So in the short term, I think we need to extend the unidirectional service in the morning and evening by 1 to 2 hours each, and include one midday service, and also adding service during weekend and public holidays. And in the future, we should add bi-directional service between Port Coquitlam and Waterfront, Vancouver, with one more station in Burnaby and one more station in Kissing Park in Vancouver. And in the future, ideally, I want to see a dedicated track built for West Coast Express. And also, we will see if it can be like a high-speed train or electrified train. That would be perfect. So that's our future goal, our future vision of the West Coast Express.
And what has kind of been the public reception to the campaign? Like, you ran for office in 2022, and this was one of your main platforms.
Exactly.
How did the public kind of respond to the idea of an expanded West Coast Express in the communities kind of along the corridor?
I think the majority of the residents around this 8 cities served by the West Coast Express, they want its extension. Because I moved to Coquitlam in 2007. When I moved here, if you look at the Loki Highway, it's empty, no cars. But right now, if you look at the Loki Highway right now, it's jam-packed. So a lot of young families, because of the housing affordability, they choose to move to Coquitlam, to Tri-City, to Maple Ridge, to Mission. But the Loki Highway is the only way out, and this West Coast Express is only running as I mentioned, it's unidirectional and rush hour only. I think it's customized for people working downtown to use it. Other people, like ordinary people, they won't be able to use it because the tiny schedule there, it's not accessible and not reliable, not accessible to ordinary people. Yeah, and I think we also did a survey, and around 95%, more than 96% of the people who did the survey, they all agree on the service expansion. And I also believe that there was an online a survey, and 96% of the I think it's around 5,600 people voted, and around 97-98% they agree on they're voting for the supporting for the expansion. So the demand is there for sure. And I think we just need to, the local politics, local government need to push out on the provincial government and federal government to negotiate with CP Rail to allow for more track time, because the track is right there. The infrastructure is right there. We're talking about like a light rail, lightweight, the LRT in the future. But I mean, that's going to take time, and the cost is going to be huge. For example, the SkyTrain, the cost of the SkyTrain, the Broadway SkyTrain, is costing like cost around like a $775 million per kilometer. But to build a dedicated track, somebody did an estimation. The cost is around like $6 million per kilometer. So the total right now, the West Coast, the whole line around 75 kilometers would only cost you no more than like a $2 billion in total. So I think it's to expand the West Coast express service is the most cost-effective way.
Thanks so much, Hari, for coming on the show. This has been For the Record.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
from the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus. This is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good afternoon, I'm Riley Lung, and you're tuning into the 1680 The Crow Show. It's currently 3:38 p.m., and starting off, local politicians in BC have passed all 3 resolutions asking the province to boost funding and regulations around the drug decriminalization pilot program, including expanding possession and use being prohibited in parks and sports fields. The most contentious debate during the vote at the Union of BC Municipalities Convention in Vancouver came around the request for the province to further regulate the possession and use of illicit drugs in places where children also gather, such as bus stops and beaches. Port Moody Councillor Haven Lebecki opposed the resolution, saying the move would push drug users further and further to the margins. Food banks across BC are struggling to meet increasing demand from new clients. Sebastian Arancibia has more on the story.
The rising cost of living, the refugee crisis, and the larger number of newcomers are behind the overgrowth of people in need of food. Meanwhile, Food Banks BC says the number of donations have dropped around 30%. The association says it doesn't expect to see a decrease in the demand of people looking for food, at least in the next 12 months. Sebastian Arancibia, 1680 The Crow.
Western Canada's only regional rail system is getting a second look after new stats were released. Our reporter Richard Davis has more on the story.
New ridership numbers from TransLink have been released, with the West Coast Express having a 41% increase. It's caused advocates, like Harvey Sue, the founder of the West Coast Express Expansion Association, to question why there's no long-term plans to improve the service.
Because in my opinion, the West Coast Express expansion could be the driving engine for the Metro Vancouver economy and housing affordability. The Mayor's Council, I think they're catering to the need of Vancouver, not like a kind of an aggression on the Tri-City and also the Eastern region.
CPKC, formerly known as Canadian Pacific, currently owns the tracks the WCE runs on. TransLink and the West Coast Express currently borrow the tracks for passenger use. Richard Davis, 1680 The Crow.
BC municipalities are asking for the share of cannabis taxes. Max Mashman has the story.
With UCBM bringing together the leaders of several BC municipalities, a familiar issue is brought up: the sharing of excise cannabis tax revenue with the municipalities, something that other provinces are already doing and the federal government is expecting provinces to do. The information the province is not sharing excise tax among municipalities comes as a surprise to a Vancouver cannabis store owner, Jeremy Jacobs.
The fact that they're not sharing revenue with the municipalities is wrong, because a lot of municipalities have, I think they were always supposed to get a part of that.
In Ontario, 40% of excise cannabis tax goes to local governments, according to research produced by UCBM. A lot more than the 0% given to local governments in BC. Max Mashman, 1680 The Crow.
The University of British Columbia has been experimenting with robotic companions to counter elderly loneliness. Our reporter Zach Clark has the story on that.
Some elderly citizens in the Lower Mainland got to experience what may be the future robotic companions. Studies have shown that loneliness in elders contributes to deterioration in cognitive functions as well as decreased mental health. But while the robots may be the solution of tomorrow, Dr. Lillian Hung, Canada's research chair in senior care and an assistant professor at UBC, says not every senior is immediately enthusiastic.
And we don't even know people would like such a robot or not, and so we want to look at the Canadians' acceptability. Canadians tend to be a little bit more reserved and skeptical about using new technology.
Dr. Hung wants to do more testing with larger sample sizes and include seniors from different upbringings and backgrounds. Zach Clark, 1680 The Crow.
On to the weather. Today is looking to be a warm and sunny day with no rain at all. Currently, the temperature is 18 degrees in the Metro Vancouver area, and we're looking at a high of 21 degrees and a low of 11. Friday will be looking the same, just a little warmer with a high of 23 degrees. But take advantage of the remaining sunshine, because Saturday we should expect to see rain all throughout the day and into the following week. I'm Riley Leung, and you're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.